How does 60% in dividend sound? Not yearly, but monthly. Well, that's exactly what the YieldMax ETFs are offering right now. These ETFs have exploded in popularity. More and more investors are using them to generate serious passive income every single month. So what's driving this sudden rush? It's simple. Traditional dividend stocks pay 3 to 5% per year, if you're lucky. But YieldMax funds, they're handing out cash like candy. And no, that's not an exaggeration. ETFs like TSLY, AMZY, and NVDY are literally paying double-digit yields every month. Some even touched over 60% annualized yield. Sounds insane, right? Well, it kind of is. Some say these payouts are just financial junk food, flashy but bad for your portfolio. So let's unpack the facts, and I'll show you which YieldMax ETFs might actually be worth your money. Chapter 1. What are YieldMax ETFs and how they work, with real examples? What exactly are these YieldMax ETFs, and how are they even able to pay such huge dividends? Here's the thing. They're not like traditional ETFs. They don't actually own the stocks you think they do. Take TSLY, for example. It's the YieldMax ETF based on Tesla, but it doesn't own Tesla shares, not even one. Instead, it uses something called a synthetic covered call strategy. That just means it tries to mimic the stock's behavior using options contracts. Then, it sells call options to generate income. That income? It's what gets paid out to investors monthly. The same goes for NVDY based on Nvidia and AMZY based on Amazon. No actual shares, just income from options. That's why you'll see crazy yields, sometimes 40%, even over 60%. But remember, these ETFs aren't about growth. They're built for one thing: income. So while the payouts are big, the underlying share price can go down just as fast. Still, if you understand how they work, they can be powerful, especially if you're focused on cash flow. Chapter 2. Best YieldMax ETFs for monthly income, ranked by yield. Alright, now let's get to the good part. Which YieldMax ETFs are paying the biggest income right now? And more importantly, are they actually sustainable? Let's start at the top. Number 1, AMZY, YieldMax AMZN Option Income ETF. This one's based on Amazon, and it's been an income beast. As of recent data, it's paid a trailing 12-month yield of around 61%. Yes, 61%. That's over 5% per month. So if you had just $10,000 in AMZY, you might have pulled around $500 every month, give or take. But here's the catch. AMZY's share price has also dropped over 40% since launch. So you're getting big cash, but losing value. Still, if you're just in it for monthly income, that yield is hard to ignore. Number 2, TSLY, YieldMax TSLA Option Income ETF. TSLY tracks Tesla through options, and it's been one of the most talked about YieldMax ETFs out there. Its 12-month yield is around 48%. That's about 4% per month. Again, on $10,000 invested, you're looking at roughly $400 a month. But same story. The share price has seen drawdowns. Since its peak, TSLY has dropped about 30%. So great yield, but watch the price. Number 3, NVDY, YieldMax NVDA Option Income ETF. Now this one tracks Nvidia. And as you know, Nvidia stock has been on fire. But NVDY doesn't follow the stock directly. It follows the income strategy. Its current trailing yield, around 47%. That's another high flyer, with monthly payouts hovering in the 4% range. So if you want exposure to Nvidia without buying Nvidia, this might catch your eye. But again, you're not getting the actual stock growth, just the income side. Number 4, APLY, YieldMax AAPL Option Income ETF. This one follows Apple, again through synthetic options. The yield is slightly lower, around 39% annually. That's still 3.2% monthly on average. More stable, but still risky. Number 5. OARK, YieldMax Innovation ETF. OARK is based on Cathie Wood's ARKK. The strategy is the same: high income from calls, recent yields around 40% plus. But price volatility here is even more dramatic, since ARKK itself is already high risk. Now, a quick note: these yields are based on trailing data. They change every month because the income comes from options, and market conditions shift fast. So if you're planning to invest, always double-check the latest yield. Websites like Seeking Alpha, YieldMax.com, or even your brokerage dashboard can help. Alright, so now you've seen who's paying what. But before we get carried away, let's talk about the risk side of the story. Because, yes, there is one. Chapter 3. Risk Factors and Volatility. What you must know. Here's the first thing. These ETFs don't grow in value over time. They're not designed for capital appreciation. So if you're looking long-term growth, this is not it. Why? Because they rely on options premiums, not actual stock ownership. That means when the market is calm, income drops. When volatility spikes, payouts rise. But it's unpredictable. And here's another issue: NAV erosion. Most YieldMax ETFs lose share price over time. That's because their strategy is income first, not preservation. Take TSLY, for example. Yes, it paid over 40% yield, but its price dropped about 30% since launch. So while you're collecting income, you might also be slowly bleeding capital. Also, these funds are highly concentrated. Each one focuses on just one stock. That's not diversified. So if that stock underperforms or swings wildly, your ETF gets hit hard. Bottom line, high income comes with high risk. It's not good or bad, just something to understand. Alright, with that out of the way, let's explore a cool twist. What if you could actually get paid almost every week? Chapter 4. YieldMax ETFs with more frequent dividends. Weekly trends. Why does that matter? Because weekly income helps with cash flow, especially for people who rely on dividends to pay bills. Other ETFs like JEPI and QYLD, not YieldMax but similar strategies, have already gained traction for consistent income, and YieldMax might not be far behind. Some investors already rotate between multiple YieldMax ETFs. They buy a mix with staggered ex-dividend dates. This way, they get a cash hit almost every week, even if payouts are monthly. It's not officially weekly, but it can feel like it. So if you want faster income, that's one way to structure it. Chapter 5. How to build a YieldMax-powered monthly income portfolio. So let's say you want to start earning monthly income using YieldMax ETFs. How would that actually look? First, think about your goal. Are you trying to replace part of your paycheck or just looking for extra cash flow? Let's say you've got $25,000 to invest. Here's one simple approach. Split it across 4 to 5 YieldMax ETFs. For example, TSLY, AMZY, NVDY, APLY, and maybe OARK or XOMY for variety. That gives you exposure to different stocks and payout cycles. And it spreads out your risk, at least a little bit. Now, based on current yields around 40% average, that $25,000 could produce roughly $800 to $900 a month. Yes, that's real cash, paid monthly. But keep in mind, these are not fixed payouts. Dividends can drop without warning. Also, consider adding something like JEPI or JPQ. They have lower yields, but more price stability. It helps balance the wild swings of YieldMax names. And don't forget taxes. Most of this income is taxed as ordinary income, not qualified dividends. So plan for that. All right, we're almost done. Let's wrap things up with some final thoughts and takeaways. Chapter 6. Conclusion. So, Who are YieldMax ETFs actually for? Well, they're not for everyone. If you're chasing long-term growth, this isn't the path. If you panic during volatility, these won't help. But if you're someone who wants regular income and you understand the risks, YieldMax ETFs can play a role, especially for income-focused investors, retirees, or anyone building a cash flow strategy. Just remember, high yield doesn't mean high reward. It often just means high risk. So be smart. Don't go all in. Mix YieldMax with safer income ETFs like JPI, JPQ, or even Dividend Aristocrats. Also, always check the latest payout data before buying, because these numbers change every month. At the end of the day, YieldMax ETFs are tools, powerful tools, when used right. Alright, that's it for now. Let me know what you think. Are you investing in any of these, or do you think they're just hype? Drop a comment and let's talk.